It's Friday, October the 9th, and welcome to the reading of the Mansfield News Journal. My name is Pam, and let's begin with today's area deaths. Aaron Butts of Mansfield, 88, passed away Tuesday, October 6th, at home after an extended illness. Services have been entrusted to small funeral services. Friends may call the funeral home Monday, October 12th from 10 to 11 a.m. Social distancing will be enforced and masks are mandatory. Charles Adrian Loftus, known as Slim of Mansfield, formerly of Ashland, went to be with his Lord and Savior Jesus Christ on October the 3rd. The family will hold a private memorial service. And this concludes the reading of the area deaths for Friday, so let's begin with our first article. Richland County remains red by Monroe Trombley. Despite being placed on the state's watch list last week, Richland County dodged a bullet Thursday and did not become the first to turn purple or reach the highest level on the state's COVID-19 public health advisory system. After spending 4 consecutive weeks on the lowest rung of the ladder, Richland County was upgraded to orange on September 17th and upgraded last week to red when it triggered 6 of the system's 7 indicators. The only indicator not met was bed occupancy for intensive care. This week, Richland County has met 5 indicators according to the system's color-coded map, which was updated on Thursday. If the county has triggered 6 or 7 for 2 consecutive weeks, it would have become purple, and many of the public school districts had planned to transition to remote learning if it did. Richland County did not trigger the 5th indicator, a sustained increase in outpatient visits for COVID-like illness. But here's how the system works. What are the indicators? Most of the system's data points examine the last 3 weeks of spread in counties. A note accompanies a summary of the alert indicators on the state's health department website. We know that this virus has an incubation period of up to 14 days, which means that it may take 2 weeks for individuals to start showing symptoms after they are infected. It may take them more time to go to the hospital or doctor's office to get tested. A 3-week look-back period means we have at least 1 week of reasonably complete data and 2 more weeks of more recent data to see if there are any indicators of increasing counts. The first one is new cases per capita. You are flagged if there were more than 50 cases per 100,000 residents over 2 consecutive weeks. The second indicator, sustained increase in new cases. You are flagged if there's an increasing trend of overall cases by date of illness onset for at least 5 consecutive days over the past 3 weeks. Third indicator, proportion of cases not in congregate settings. It is flagged if more than 50% of the new cases in at least one of the last 3 weeks didn't come from congregate care settings, such as prisons and long-term care settings. The fourth indicator, sustained increase in emergency department visits for COVID-19-like illnesses. This becomes flagged if there is an increasing trend of at least 5 consecutive days in the number of people going to the emergency department with COVID-like symptoms or receiving a diagnosis there over the past 3 weeks. Fifth indicator, sustained increase in outpatient visits for COVID-like illnesses. This becomes flagged if there is an increasing trend of at least 5 consecutive days in the number of people going to a healthcare provider with COVID-like symptoms, who then receive a confirmed or suspected diagnosis over the past 3 weeks. The sixth indicator, sustained increase in new COVID-related hospital admissions. This indicator becomes flagged if there is an increasing trend of at least 5 consecutive days in the number of new hospitalizations due to COVID-19 over the past 3 weeks. The seventh indicator, intensive care units or ICU bed occupancy. This is flagged if the percentage of the occupied ICU beds in each of the state's 8 regions go above 80% for at least 3 days in the last week. More than 20% of ICU beds are being used for patients who've tested positive for COVID-19 for at least 3 days in the last week. 3 more indicators are being developed. including the rate of cases from contact of known cases, tests per capita, and percentage of positive tests in each county. Are inmates included? Many have pointed to the COVID-19 outbreak at Richland Correctional Institution, which began to take shape around September 21st, as the primary driver behind the county's color, in addition to inmates positive for the disease that were transferred last month to Mansfield Correctional Institution. But that's only partly true. Inmates are not included in case-dependent indicators such as new cases per capita and sustained increase in cases. Inmates, however, may be included in some of the hospital utilization indicators, like sustained increases in emergency department visits for COVID-like illnesses and hospitalizations due to COVID-19, according to Melanie Amato, a spokesperson for the Ohio Department of Health. While some infected inmates were initially taken to Ohio Health Mansfield Hospital for treatment by the Mansfield Fire Department, as of Tuesday, 25 of 27 inmates from RECE who have been hospitalized for COVID-19 are receiving treatment in Columbus. 11 are in an intensive care unit and 6 are on ventilators. What about prison staff? As Governor Mike DeWine said Tuesday, some of the people who work at RECE or the prison next door live in Richland County or a neighboring county. The ones who do are counted in the state's alert system, which DeWine has said is designed to inform people as to whether there is a significant spread in a county. In Richland County's case, there are more than 50 staff cases, and as would be expected, most employees live and work in the community, which contributes to the community spread, Amato said. Well, what happens if a county is deemed purple? A level 4 designation means there is severe exposure and spread of the coronavirus, according to the Ohio Department of Health, which recommends that people only leave home for supplies and services. A stay-at-home order would likely be issued, according to Reed Richmond, spokesman at Richland Public Health, noting last week that orders wouldn't mean businesses would close. It's not businesses closing. It means the only reason you should go out is to get supplies, Richmond said at the time. Again, there is no enforcement. If you want to go out, go out. But that's what it's supposed to be about. Stay at home. Don't leave your house unless you need to get supplies, groceries, or prescriptions. Richland County commissioners expressed frustration in recent days about what they view as a lack of communication from Governor Mike DeWine and the state health director, saying they didn't know what would be required of residents, businesses, and governments if the county was upgraded to the advisory system's highest level. DeWine said Tuesday that no punitive action comes from the state if a county turns purple. These color codes are really to inform people of the nature of the problem, he said. And yes, we fully realize there is a prison there, and citizens of the community are not responsible for what goes on in the prison. The fact is, however, that people who live in Richland County work in a prison, as do people, I'm sure, from many counties around. So it does have an impact on what's going on in the community, and the color might reflect that. People should be alert now that we do have significant spread in the county, DeWine added. As of Thursday, Richland County had 121 cases in the past 2 weeks, up from 95 when the map was updated last week. That's 99.87 cases per 100,000. The county would be considered to have a high incidence of COVID-19 if it records over 100 cases per 100,000. Richland County recorded nearly 300 coronavirus cases in September. It's its highest monthly total since the pandemic began. According to the Ohio Department of Health, or the ODH, 293 people in Richland County either received a positive test result or first reported symptoms in September, compared to 146 in August. That's an increase of just over 100%. Hospitalizations increased as well. 42 people in Richland County were hospitalized in September for COVID-19, the disease caused by the novel coronavirus, compared to 22 in August, according to the ODH. As of Thursday, Richland County had 1,101 confirmed and probable cases of COVID-19, nine more since Wednesday. In a prior email, Richland attributed September's spike to not just the recent outbreak at Reese, but to fatigue in following guidelines, saying that the health department has seen an uptick in family spread due to large family gatherings and parties. Well, some good news. CARES money for police fire pay has been approved by Monroe Trombley. After receiving about $2.5 million in federal money as part of the coronavirus relief bill, the city has been given a third round of funds. Council on Tuesday approved spending nearly $1.7 million, 64% of which will be spent to shore up payroll for police and fire departments dating back to early spring when the pandemic first started. In total, the city has received about $4.2 million as part of the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act, also known as the CARES Act, which was signed into law in March when the novel coronavirus pandemic prompted governors to shut down aspects of the economy. For its third round of federal money, Mansfield is giving $200,000 to a small business grant program run by the Richland Area Chamber and Economic Development. The city, along with Richland County, gave $250,000 to the program last month, while Ontario gave $25,000, nearly 38% of its federal money. The Chamber has over $200,000 in outstanding requests from Mansfield businesses, according to Jody Perry, President and CEO. The grant program attracted 273 applications by last month's deadline, though 90 came from outside the area. The Chamber is notifying who's qualified and exploring the possibility of awarding a second round of grants. We are in discussions about opening a second round of applications being mainly funded by Richland County, as well as a separate opportunity for nonprofit organizations, Perry said. More detail will be released soon. Mansfield, in its latest round of CARES money, also is giving the local Salvation Army $10,000 to help people pay rent, gas, and electric. They have already had a lot of need for this, says Mayor Tim Thieker. The United Way gave them $10,000 a couple weeks ago, and that money was used up almost immediately to help offset COVID victims. It's a godsend that we need, Thieker added. Other city departments plan to use the relief money for cleaning supplies, plexiglass dividers, laptops so employees can work from home, touchless drinking fountains, and chairs that are easier to clean. Purchase orders must be filed November 20th, and services must be rendered and products delivered by December 30th. In other news, Council authorized the Richland County Growth Corporation on behalf of the city to sell 15 acres around Airport West Road to Adena Development for $1. It plans to build a 160,000 square foot spec building, meaning it's being built without an end user or a tenant. We've not had a building of this type constructed here in Richland County for close to 15 years, where the developer is willing to put themselves out on a limb like this, says Economic Development Director Tim Bowersock, noting the developer is investing $7 million. Council authorized the city to enter into a community reinvestment area agreement with KJBS and K.E. McCartney Associates to expand an office and construct a garage. With the agreement, the two entities are exempt from paying 100% of the taxes on real estate improvements for 15 years. In exchange, Mansfield City Schools will be paid $15,597 each year. Council authorized the city to enter into a community reinvestment area agreement with One Foundation Properties and Hess Industries to expand the building at 108 Sawyer Parkway. With the agreement, the two entities are exempt from paying 100% of the taxes on real estate improvements for 15 years. In exchange, Madison local schools will be paid $3,905 each year. Council authorized the city to enter into a community reinvestment area agreement with For Life Investments, which plans to expand and renovate a building at 424 Spring Mill Street. With the agreement, For Life is exempted from paying 100% of taxes on real estate improvements for 12 years. In exchange, Mansfield City Schools will be paid $3,080 each year. Council authorized the city to contract with Mansfield-based Debt Recovery Solutions, or DRS, to collect delinquent water and sewer accounts. Council completed the second reading of legislation that would express approval and support for the adoption of the Parks Department's master plan, which recommends more than $29 million in improvements. A final vote is scheduled for October 20th. Council completed the first reading of legislation to transfer 10 parks to the Richland County Land Bank. 6th Ward Jean Taddy has made it known that she is not in favor of transferring some of the parks, some of which are not developed, and a final vote is scheduled for October 20th. Council honored Administrative Assistant Deborah Keller, who is retiring from the Finance Department after nearly 38 years. Council honored Confidential Accountant Michael Schwamberger, who's retiring from the Finance Department after 35 years. Council approved demolitions for 91 Greenwood Avenue, 111 Orchard Street, 113-115 Willow Street, 181 South Adams Street, 258 Remy Avenue, 276 Sheridan Avenue, 288 West 4th Street, 368 7th Avenue, 481 Durham Court, and 590 Harold Avenue. Council authorized paying Mark Schaefer Excavating and Trucking $176,240 for improving 2 taxiways at Mansfield Lawn Regional Airport. Council established a new special revenue fund, number 206, called Motor Vehicle License Tax Fund, to account for tax funds received from municipal license plate fees. Council established a Capital Projects Fund, number 427, called Water Treatment Plant Improvement Fund, to account for bond funds that are being used to upgrade and renovate the water treatment plant. Council authorized the city to buy a 2019 Jeep Compass for $14,271 to replace a 2014 Ford Escape, which will be traded in for $8,500. Council authorized the city to buy a 2020 Suzuki Outboard Marine motor for $5,300. It will be used by the water treatment plant at the Clear Fork Reservoir. Council amended sections of City Code to allow property owners to use other materials approved by Public Works Director besides copper and iron for extensions between shutoff valves or curb stops and water meters. Council also authorized the city to submit an application for a state bond issue number 1 grant, which would be used to install storm sewers along Taylor Road, Manchester Road, Barnard Avenue, and Coleman Road. They also authorized the city to extend the airport joint use agreement between the federal government and Ohio. Moving on, legislation could change how unpaid water bills are collected by Zach Tugel. In Bucyrus, members of Bucyrus City Council will consider legislation Thursday evening that could take the burden of unpaid tenant water bills off of landlords' shoulders. A copy of the proposed legislation provided to the Telegraph Forum by Bucyrus Council Clerk Todd Hill shows a proposed update to Section 915.04 of the city's codified ordinances. That supplementation strikes the phrase, "Tenant and property owner remain jointly responsible for payments," and replaces it with, "Water service users are solely responsible for payment." To allow the city to collect unpaid money, the legislation would be amended with, "Unpaid bills of more than 30 days past due for a tenant-occupied structure may be collected through any available civil enforcement mechanism, including, but not limited to, seeking a civil judgment in a court of competent jurisdiction." The matter will be discussed at 6 p.m. Thursday by the City's Service Committee. If the committee approves the legislation, it would move on to the full council for consideration before becoming a law. Existing city practice is to apply any water bills left unpaid by tenants and former tenants as a lien against the property, forcing the owner of the property to pay the bill. The city's utility department does not require a minimum deposit of $180 from all tenants before water service is extended. For retired tenants, that deposit is only $50. Although the matter has not appeared recently on Council's agenda, members have discussed it during open meetings. During those discussions, Bucyrus Mayor Jeff Reeser and others have raised the issue as to whether or not council members who are also landlords should abstain from voting on such a matter, since it could benefit them directly. When asked directly by the Telegraph Forum about his opinion, Bucyrus Law Director Rob Ratliff said he had advised council members on whether they should abstain from such a vote, but that he could not make that response public because doing so would break attorney-client privilege. The Telegraph Forum sent an email to City Council members seeking their opinions on who should vote for. The Telegraph Forum sent an email to City Council members seeking their opinion on who should vote on the proposed legislation. All responded except for Bruce Truca, Mark McKeever, and James Mee. Councilmember Kevin Myers said he's not a landlord but hopes to become one in the future. Myers said he will rely on advice he has been given directly by Ratliff and the Ohio Ethics Commission when considering any future vote he might make. Councilmember Doug Folk said he owns a property that could be rented to a tenant, but that he has no intentions of ever becoming a landlord. He bought the property so that he could rehab it and sell it, protecting it from being demolished. Folk added that he does not believe anyone who is an active landlord should vote on such matters as the legislation to be considered Thursday. Councilmember Lisa Alsep said she has no desire to ever own a rental property. I feel that we have honest and ethical members on our council who will make good decisions whether they themselves are landlords or not, Alsep wrote. I'm sure those individuals will do what is ethically and legally correct. Councilmember C. Erin Chirac also said she never intends to be a landlord. She said she was under the impression that council members who are also landlords and stood to gain from the vote would be legally required to abstain, but has heard that attorneys at the state and local level said that such abstinence is not required. Ethically, if the state thinks it is okay, then the people need to step up and give their voice on the matter, Chirac wrote. If the laws and rules on ethics don't have the people's back, then I want the people to come and share their thoughts. Council President Kirk Fankhauser says he does not own any rental properties and that he believes council members who do should not be required to abstain from voting. Well, our next article, Ohio Health, Ashland Health Center to open in early 2021. The $14 million health center to expand Ohio's health service in the area by staff report. Ohio Health will open its Ashland Health Center in early 2021, according to a news release from the agency. The $14 million health center, located at US Route 250 and George Road, will expand Ohio's health current services and provide a more convenient choice for Ohio Health patients in the Ashland area, the release said. Ohio Health broke ground on the two-story, 22,000 square foot health center in November 2019. Ohio Health has provided practices and outpatient services on Amberwood Parkway in Ashland, and some of its providers have directly served the Ashland community for more than 30 years, the release said. The agency's presence in Ashland will be expanded upon with a new freestanding emergency department and additional primary care and specialty care providers. The Ohio Health Emergency Care in Ashland will be similar to the freestanding emergency department in Ontario near Meyer. It will have 8 treatment rooms, a resuscitation room, and imaging capabilities for emergency patients. The department will be staffed 24/7 by emergency physicians and a clinical team experienced in treating patients with severe or life-threatening conditions such as severe bleeding, shortness of breath, or chest pain. Primary care physicians Dr. Rabia Tour and Dr. Dalia Yosef recently joined the Ohio Health Physician Group primary care practice at 45 Amberwood Parkway, and they are accepting new patients. In addition to the primary care practice, lab and therapy on Amberwood Parkway will relocate to the new health center. The orthopedic, heart and vascular, and podiatry practices on Amberwood will remain at their current locations. Our mission is to improve the health of those we serve, and our philosophy is to keep care local as often as possible. Vincent Yates, president of Ohio Health Mansfield and Shelby Hospitals, said in the release. Mansfield Hospital's heart and vascular and orthopedic teams, who are nationally recognized, already serve the community in Ashland. We will provide convenience and choice for the community to stay closer to home when the need arises. Up next, the annual event raises money for the Pregnancy Care Center by Liz Hosfield. In Ashland, before 200 walkers made their way up and down Claremont Avenue on Saturday morning, Pastor Dave McNeely of New Life Community Church prayed over them and the cause that brought them together, helping the Ashland Pregnancy Care Center to save the lives of babies. We pray, Lord, that as we walk the streets of Ashland, that we would represent Christ, that we would shine with the light of Christ today, he said. The annual Walk for Life, as well as the 5K Fun Run, was held as a fundraiser for the Ashland Pregnancy Care Center, and McNeely was one of several who spoke during a short program between the 5K and the walk. During the program, which took place at Corner Park, Executive Director Melanie Miller said this year's event broke records in terms of attendance with its 200 participants, including the 20 people who ran in the 5K. Melanie Miller speaks during a program that was part of the Ashland Pregnancy Care Center's 5K Fun Run and Walk for Life on Saturday at Corner Park. During her opening remarks, Miller said the Fun Run and Walk is the second largest fundraiser for the Ashland Pregnancy Care Center. Among those helping to raise money for the cause was 9-year-old Leah Plank, who took the stage Saturday with Mom Anna to talk about a 2-day bake sale she held this year. Leah, who held her sale during the center's virtual annual banquet in August, raised $127.25 for the Ashland Pregnancy Care Center. "You are never too young to make a difference," Miller said. "I hope that Leah inspired you to do good." Also making remarks were State Senator Larry Obhoff, State Representative Darrell Kick, U.S. Congressman Bob Gibbs, County Commissioner Jim Justice, and Mayor Matt Miller. Pastors representing several area churches were also in attendance. According to Melanie Miller, 80 babies have been saved through the Ashland Pregnancy Care Center in 2020, with 1,700 saved from abortion since the center's inception in 1981. How about some local briefs? M1 Church to distribute food boxes. In Mansfield, M1 Church at 1000 McPherson Street will be giving away Farmers to Families food boxes from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Saturday, and again on October 17th, October 17th, October 24th, and October 31st. Farmers to Families is a USDA federally funded program that brings food to people who have been affected by the pandemic. Each 30 to 40 pound box will contain 10 to 12 pounds of produce, both fruits and vegetables, 5 to 6 pounds of dairy items, at least 2 items, 1 gallon of milk, 5 to 6 pounds of protein items, either 2 meats or 1 meat item and 1 egg item. M1 Church is serving as a hub location. Oasis for Love Church at 190 Chester Avenue is also partnering in this effort. Boxes are available to people who pre-register at mansfieldfirst.com/food or call the M1 Church office at 419-529-2999 6501 during business hours. A reservation guarantees a food box. Each vehicle will be allowed one box and a second box if available to give away. No proof of income is required. There's a meeting for special need parents planned in Mansfield. Parents of children with special needs are invited to attend a parent-to-parent meeting from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. Wednesday at the Mid-Ohio Educational Service Center at 890 West 4th Street. This is a collaborative effort led by Sally Stiegel, parent-to-peer support at Richland New Hope, along with Cindy Robleski and Lindsay Schoenauer Howard from the Parent Mentor Team at MOSC. The informal gathering will provide an opportunity for parents to share information, resources, and strategies, and to learn more about the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or the IDEA, and how the requirements of the law with Ohio's guideline relate to the rights of their child with a disability. The parent-to-parent meeting is free to attend, but registration is recommended. Pizza, chips, and pop will be provided. Parents and caregivers can RSVP at Stigall Sally, STIGALLSALLY @gmail.com, or call 419-774-5520, extension 2800, or 419-774-5520, extension 2018. From Citizens to Patriot Forum set for October 15th in Galion. From Citizen to Patriot has invited the public to its next educational forum from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. Thursday at Galion Grace Point Life Center, 683 Portland Way North. The doors will open at 6 p.m. Focus for the forum will be centered around the pending results of the upcoming election in November. There will be guest speakers, door prizes, and free U.S. constitutions. For details, you can call 419-468-5116 or 419-468-2944. And this concludes the reading of the Mansfield News Journal for Friday, October 9th. This is PM. Please stay safe until we meet again. Be blessed. Do what you could do to make today a great day.